So, are there really UFOs? Well, this week, the US government released a report that claims to come clean at least about 11 different near misses that pilots have had. And what did we discover? Well, to explore that, we have Angharad Yo from the Queens of the Drone Age podcast and social media strategist Meg Coffey. What did we learn?
I was so excited to read this report. I'm like, yes, it's here. It's going to explain it. And then you read it and it's like, yep, so really we're not telling you anything because we don't really know. And there really isn't anything to tell you because you guys are all making it up.
Okay, so if you remove, I guess, there is a natural sort of like laughable quotient to this, right? That you would assume that if you're a federal agency and you had unidentified anything in your airspace, you'd want to have a good idea of what it is. And, you know, removing the alien component, like, you know, foreign interference, like there's a whole bunch of reasons why you would want to know and want to be able to identify everything in your airspace, right?
It's a little bit scary to think that there are things that we don't know and don't understand very close to us. But at the same time, you have to remember that even our oceans have largely been unexplored. There is a lot of everything around us that we don't understand. We don't even fully know how worms reproduce yet. We've not seen it properly. I mean, you just kind of have to accept that there's stuff that we don't know yet. There's so much that science can tell us, but at the same time, there's so much that it can't yet. The report mostly said like, oh, it could be things like bugs in the system or technical glitches and environmental phenomena, whatever that means. But I understand the viewpoint of, I'm sorry, we just don't know at this stage. We haven't figured it out.
There are a few interesting things about the report. One of which is they've sort of done away, Meg, with the acronym UFO. They've replaced it with UAP, which is... Actually, what does that actually stand for, UAP?
Yeah, so unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Right, and why would they have changed it? Is it just because there's too much baggage attached to UFO as an acronym?
Well, I think so, but also it makes it a little bit more technical because we don't necessarily know that it is a flying object. I think, you know, the report says, as Rad was just saying, you know, it could have been a technical glitch. It could have been a windstorm or a sensor or something that we aren't capable of measuring yet. So it's an aerial phenomenon. It's something that's in the air that doesn't seem quite right and we can't quite identify it yet, but we don't necessarily think that it's a flying object.
Rad, what was the most interesting thing that came out of the report for you? Is there anything that stood out as being particularly notable?
Can I be terrible and say that I don't really care about UFOs? I don't feel bothered by them.
Do you care more or less now having read the report?
I think I care less because I think they really just said, like, we don't really know anything. We don't reckon it's aliens. We think that it's mostly technical glitches and mostly humans' eyes playing tricks on them and seeing something a little bit vague and, you know, our minds filling in the blanks. And maybe I'm an overly practical person that doesn't have enough of a sense of whimsy, but I really think that that's mostly just what it is. It could just be a bird that we haven't seen before. Like, you know, it could be anything, but I feel that it's unlikely that it's aliens and the government has completely managed to hide that from the entire population. And if they have, kudos to them, and I don't want to talk to the aliens anyway.
Meg, for you, the most interesting takeaway from the report?
I think there were quite a few things that were interesting. I think, you know, there are the 11 near misses that the pilots have said. There has to be something in that. And it does worry me that a lot of these do tend to happen over Air Force bases and security bases. But then the report also highlights that we have a lot more security around security bases. So we're paying a lot more attention to these particular spots because they're spots of national security. You know, we're not paying attention to the middle of the desert because there's nothing to pay attention to out there. So maybe we are a little bit more sensitive.
That's right.
That's the most secure.
Exactly. I think there's more to come. I think, as always with government, they never tell us the full story. Even if they have been compelled in this case to tell us what they know, I still don't believe it's everything.
All right, there is lots more of this in the podcast of Download This Show. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, gang.